Well, guys, welcome to another student spotlight call. Super stoked. We got Delsean on this call. I know Delsean and I have been playing scheduling tag for the last month, but we got it done. Delsean, I'm super stoked to have you on the call. I know over the last 6 months, you've been absolutely grinding it out and seeing what I consider a ton of success. I would think you probably would agree with that, but we're excited to hear your story. I can't wait to understand kind of the challenges that you overcame and the success that you're having. But before we jump into all that, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Where do you live? I guess I know a little bit about your story, so I'll say, what did you used to do, and what are you doing now? And I'll let you take it from there, man.
Yep. So for those who don't know me, my name is Delsean Littlejohn. I'm based out of Metro Detroit. Since COVID, I've probably been a kind of a consultant, working for startups, digital finance startups and whatnot. I've done everything from being a quote unquote solutions consultant to a project manager to product manager to a chief product officer to the head of compliance.
All of
All the
it.
way up until, yeah, all the way up until the end of July, and that's where the W-2 left me before I could leave it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And we know that you're a resilient person because I see that you are also a Lions fan. So,
Exactly.
you've had to
60
go
years
through
of
some ups and
punishment.
downs. I feel like you're so close though. You're so close, man.
Exactly.
So you're doing real estate full time now. And what's the plan? Is the plan to grind it out and continue to build real estate? Are you looking for a job in the interim to kind of make up for, the income gap? What's the plan?
Well, the plan was to build a rental portfolio so that it would surpass my W-2 income.
Yep.
But because of what's happened and the employment market's kind of dried up on me, I'm doing what I can to try to make the most out of the real estate situation as possible while I'm still looking for a W-2.
Yeah.
I still would like to work for a couple of years, to stack up some dollars, and then you know how being an entrepreneur that a lot of times the banks they want to see 2 years of bank statements and things like that. So I kind of want to do this simultaneous for 2 years before I go full time in
Yeah,
real
that
estate.
makes sense, man, for sure. And when you're building a rental portfolio, it takes time to build up that cash flow to match your income. So totally understand that. But you got a boatload of time on your hands, or at least more time than you did previously. So using that to help build the portfolio and dive into real estate, what'll be great is by the time you get back to that W-2 job, right, you'll have created a lot of systems, a lot of relationships, and the system and process should actually be easier for you by the time you get there, just because of all the time and effort you've been able to put in, which is great. Now, I know coming into this, right, there were a few challenges that were in front of you that you had to overcome. If you don't mind, can you share what some of those challenges were? And I know there are a lot of students out there that are excited to hear how you overcome them because I think a lot of students face those as well too.
Well, I think we'll start with the typical challenges. I think everybody kind
Yep.
of comes to you with they need the mentorship. They need to understand real estate. They need to understand the financing behind it, and those were the basic challenges.
Yep.
And then when I left the W or when the W-2 left me, I had four deals kind of in place. But what happened was that I co-signed on a loan for or a car loan for her, and she went 30 days late. So at the last minute, my credit scores dropped and killed all four deals.
Ah,
Um,
God.
yeah, and I had another W-2 lined up, but the Friday before I was supposed to go in that Monday to start, they had canceled the position. So now don't have any W-2 income. The deals I had to give me some rental income in place kind of dried up. So I was scrambling to determine what to do.
Yep.
The learning the real estate game in general was the tough part, but then now you say, you either need cash or credit. And the cash that I did have saved up, I was now living, starting to live off of it, and I couldn't use it for investing. So what do I do now?
Yep.
Um, and so instead of just kind of, I think we joined these programs looking at somebody like you to literally spoon feed us. Hey, here's the contractor, here's the lender,
Yeah.
hold my hand while I sign on the dotted line. And he, in hindsight, it's a little bit easier if you got good credit and things like this. I think if I did have good credit and a stack of cash, that I could have blown this thing up, right away from Jumpstart. As soon as you kind of learn the processes and everything. But at that particular time, it was like, all right, well, how do I overcome this? How are lenders going to look at me? I'm looking for 100% financing lender, and I didn't have
Hmm.
any of the private money lenders or private money partners lined up.
Hmm.
So in that process, I was looking, and I ended up finding this guy in St. Louis who became my partner or my GC in St. Louis. And then we found a lender that was able to give me 100% financing for acquisition and for renovation. And we ended up purchasing a duplex with that in December.
That's awesome, man. So your solution in that situation was, hey, how can I find a credit partner, right? Someone who has good
Exactly.
credit. I'll bring the experience. I'll go out and raise the money. I'll figure out the ways to find the deals, right? And I'll have someone in my back pocket that can, manage the credit side of things. And also, it sounds like he was also your contractor as well, too, right?
Here's my boots on the ground in that, and I'm in Detroit, so
Yep.
I did one of the other things that we typically aren't supposed to do. You're supposed to do everything in your backyard. You're supposed to be able to touch the asset. Um, we found a deal together, and we kind of felt each other out first, and we were able to underwrite and be on the same page. But he was basically the boots on the ground. He's doing all the
That's
work.
great.
And it worked out for my situation because I also had taken all of my old 401k accounts, created an entity, and created a solo K. And I was able to invest in that deal with the solo K funds.
Yeah, awesome. We're gonna come back to Solo K because I'm super excited to chat about that. How did you meet this guy in St. Louis? Like, how did obviously you knew you were gonna have to find someone to help you on the credit side of things. How did you go out and create this relationship and like pitch this deal to this person?
So obviously, in the new world of things, when you start searching for things, your phone's listening to you, Facebook's listening to you.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for these lenders, and I got this ad that said, "Hey, I've been investing in real estate, and I've done so many deals over such and such time, and I have not used any of my own money. Click on this clickbait to get my list of lenders." And of
Yep.
course, I did. I clicked on it.
I like it.
Um, he was also trying to get some people to mentor, and we had a conversation. He's like, "You don't sound like you really need mentorship. Would you be interested in investing in my deals?" And I said, I'm not interested really in investing in somebody else's deal. I need to get some deals for myself. And then, we had a couple different conversations, and we decided to create this joint venture
Nice.
after after I was able to. And after we made that decision, I was like, hey, you know, I'm not just going to do this on a whim. Let me do a little bit of investigation. And so I talked to all of his lenders. I talked to his title companies. I talked
Oh
to
wow.
the closing agents. All these people were excited about the quality work that he did. And
Oh
so at
wow.
that point, he gave me his HUD-1s, and he also gave me his appraisals on the properties that he just completed, and all the information had synced up from what I could find in the public documents. So it was the same names, everything matched up. It wasn't falsified. So it made me pretty comfortable, working with him and creating that type of partnership.
That's great, man. Yeah, it sounds like you did a really good job of doing your due diligence on him, right? Figuring out to make sure what he was telling you was true, which is perfect. I mean, we need to inspect what we expect. And I love that, you just kind of were open, right, to exploring what options were available to you, right? You saw an ad, obviously you could have gotten on that phone with him, be like, no, this isn't going to work, right? But instead, you just start asking questions like, here's what I really want. Is that something that you would be open to ultimately? And it worked out. And that goes for everyone. When you're new in this game, right? You just have to be open to having conversations, asking and clear on what you want. And the worst thing anyone can say is no, or this probably is not going to work, right? But long term, for you, because you're open to that conversation, it actually came to fruition. So that's awesome, man. And tell us a little bit about these deals in St. Louis, because give us some numbers and kind of what your exit strategy has been with them, because it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was we had looked at a couple deals, and we were able to, like I said, kind of underwrite together. So we were kind of comfortable with how we like to underwrite and to make offers. And actually he wasn't nearly as aggressive in making offers as I was, but we found this duplex the day before it was supposed to go on the market, and we bought it for $160,000. We had a $50,000 renovation budget, and we underwrote it at $300,000 as an ARV. Uh,
Beautiful.
we bought it December 22nd, and his team actually got the first unit done by January 9th, which was really, I
It's
mean,
crazy.
even with all the due diligence that I saw, that kind of blew me away. It was
Yeah,
outstanding work at the same time too.
especially during the holidays.
Yeah.
And then keep going. We're sorry.
So then, after we got the work done really quick, then we had to wait till the other unit became vacant. Got that side done in 3 weeks. Got it appraised, and it appraised for $335,000.
Wow. So 35 grand upside on that you didn't see, which is awesome.
Correct. Yep.
You got the projects done, super quick. Now, obviously it's a duplex for rents. What did you guys wind up doing on the rental side?
We had found an Airbnb company that wanted to arbitrage it from us. So they liked the quality on the first side. So they signed the lease on the first side for $1,860.
It's crazy.
And they said, "Oh, we like this one so much. When you get done with the other side, we'll take that one too."
Yeah. So
So we're bringing
3,700
in
bucks, basically, right?
3,700 bucks a month on that property,
That's
and we
awesome.
really
And
don't have to
that's
property management because they're doing all the property management and just giving us access to the property to make sure it's maintained.
Yeah, that's great. So what's cash flow when it's all said and done on something like that? What's that look like?
So luckily, we had some more credit hiccups because he was 2 points off on his credit score. So we had to go to four different lenders, and we ended up going to Robert McClung, who's part of this group,
Yep.
who kind of saved
In
it.
the community. Love that.
He recently got us the exception, and I think what we'll be all in on this for, I think the payment will be 1650 a month
Ooh,
plus utilities. So I think we'll be clearing $1,800 a month on this.
that's huge. That's amazing. That's $900 a door. So that's an amazing deal. I love that. And you were able to cash out all the money you had in the deal, right? You're not leaving any money in, right?
Yeah, so with the points with the hard money lender, they charge us 13% and 3 points, and the points were paid upon exit, which was
Yeah,
a
okay.
bonus.
That's great.
So our payoff will be 216. So it'll be our new loan will be $251,000 minus
Getting
the
cash back.
216. Yeah, and so we'll split like 35,000.
Hell yeah, that's
So
awesome.
this will
Nothing
be a
like putting tax-free money in your pocket and getting 1,800 bucks a month in cash flow. That's great.
yep. So first deal, perfect burr. It was everything worked out.
Yeah, but you're not done yet. We're working on a second duplex basically across the street, right?
Literally right down the street, 4 streets down, bought
That's
another
great.
duplex.
That's awesome. Now, my favorite part about this is because I know for newer investors that come in, they're like, "Oh, I can't find the deals. I can't find the deals." Both of these deals were on the MLS, weren't they? Yeah, exactly. So, we can go out and just look on the MLS. And one thing I think, Delsean, I don't, whether it's something you learned along the way or what have you, but you've gotten really aggressive with making your offers, right? I think, you made an offer $40,000 lower than what your partner was willing to make. And tell us about how that worked out.
This one was on the market, and they put it on the market for 150, and then for some reason by the time they talked to us, they wanted 160 for it. I had talked to my partner about what the rehab budget was going to be. It was going to be similar to the other one, but a little bit less. So I said, hey, let's go, and I'm always about making a disrespectfully low offer. So I said, let's come in at 120.
I love that. And they
And
accepted, or what they
yeah,
wind up doing?
so they accepted it. They didn't accept it at 120, but they accepted it at 125.
Well, I guess we'll take that. That's good enough, right?
So we got a minimum of $25,000 off of what they were originally wanting to ask for.
That's so cool. And all the numbers will work out the same, you think, on like the value once it's renovated and everything?
Yeah, and this was, I think one of the things we talked about is having that inspection period, and two for two in both those properties had sewer line
Oh yeah.
inspections. So on the first property, because of the sewer line, we were able to ask for the concession. So I basically came to closing with $0 out of pocket for that. They zeroed
That's
everything out
great.
at closing. And this one, this was going to be a $13,000 project. And the owner's brother or relative was a plumber, so that he agreed to do the work as long as we gave them $1,000 credit
Oh,
at closing.
perfect.
Yeah.
That's great.
And so
So
they
you
did
got
the work
basically a
right.
$12,000 sewer line replaced for nothing.
Exactly. So I was
Yeah.
like, let's roll with it. So, that pushed the price to 126. So I was still extremely happy about it.
Yeah, that's a great deal. I love that. Awesome. So duplexes in St. Louis in that neighborhood, I think is on the docket for what you're going to continue to invest in, it sounds like.
Never would have thought about it. Never would have thought about doing this remotely. But yeah, I love that market, especially that neighborhood right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things obviously we focus on here is investing outside of your backyard. For a lot of people, it can be nerve-wracking. But I know that St. Louis was not the first time you invested outside of your backyard. Um, I remember when you decided, or when, the W-2 got rid of you before you could get rid of it. You had a 401k that you decided to then go and self-direct. Tell us about that. Was always the goal to like invest in real estate with it, or what was the thought?
Always do invest in real estate with it. So,
Cool.
created the entities. I looked into the self-directed accounts, and then I was
Hmm.
trying to say, hey, do I want to go with the IRA or do I want to go with still okay? And so did some research and say what are the major differences and what can I do with them. And so I decided that I wanted to go with the solo case so that I could actually truly amplify the retirement savings with that type of account versus the IRA.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it gives me a
And
little bit more flexibility as well.
yeah, absolutely, right. There's some tax benefits to it with if you're financing inside of that account, and I know one of your big things is to potentially start doing some fix and flips in the future in your backyards, and if that starts taking shape, you'll be able to contribute to that account again. So that'll be really cool. Tell us about those investments. Those investments that you did inside that account were super unique as well too, and from what we've chatted about, have been pretty successful. So kind of fill us in on where you went with that.
So going back to the duplex, so I invested in the first duplex in St. Louis with the solo K. So
Okay.
that $800 a month will go back to the solo K.
Yeah.
So versus whatever else I was going to get into the market, that 4% growth per year, I'm getting that much, per month now.
Yeah. That's great.
Um, Plus all that 35,000 that we'll split on the cash out, that's all going back to the solo K. So now all of a sudden, instead of having that regular 401k, slow growth is now getting amplified with every single deal that I do with that particular account. Um,
Nice.
Second duplex will go into that account as well. And what I was able to do with the solo K was also take a $40,000 loan away from it, and that
Mm-hmm.
allowed
Mm-hmm.
and that allowed me to actually use some personal funds, which I wouldn't be able to do directly out of the solo K, meaning that I could personally benefit from it. So I
Yep.
used those funds to pay somebody to arbitrage two properties for me. One was in Tempe, Arizona, and the other one is in Salt Lake City.
That's great.
Uh,
So just for a second there, you actually, so with a solo 401k, you can take a personal loan from that. Just like anyone on the call who has a 401k with their employer, you can take a loan up to $40,000 or 50% of the account balance. So you were able to take a $40,000 personal loan and you use that to then do these properties. Is that right?
that's exactly what I did. And so this young lady actually, marketed in those two markets for these landlords who are willing to let us arbitrage the property. She acquired those properties or acquired those leases with those people. She did the setup for those houses and then leased out each one of those rooms. So
Mm-hmm.
on Salt Lake City, I think we're averaging roughly $800 per room, and
That's
then
awesome.
and I think that one we get roughly like 47, 40 over $4,700 a month in total rents on that one, and we pay
Okay.
that landlord about $2,600 in lease payments in a master lease.
Nice. Okay.
So on that property, I think I'm netting after paying property management fee to this young lady, $1,150 a month
That's great.
on that property take home. So that's after all expenses and everything. And then on the Tempe property, that's a 5 bedroom, but we're getting higher rents. We're averaging between 900 and $1,100 per bedroom there.
Wow, that's crazy.
And I think I am bringing home, I think $1,500 a month on that one. So
Wow.
between those two, April was the first month that I was 100% leased up on those two properties, which
Okay.
gave me 11 doors just with
Yep.
those two properties.
That's great.
Between those two, I'll net like $2,700 a month. And then my
That's
loan
great.
payment back to my 401k is about $900 a month.
Perfect. So you're able to pay that back, still be net positive. And with those properties, right? So she went out, the property manager, she created the master lease ultimately with the current owner of the property. And then basically you just paid to get access to those properties essentially
Yeah,
and be able to be the recipient of the cash flow, if you will, right?
exactly. Yeah.
And how long are you able to hold those properties and cash flow them?
We got 3-year master leases on each property.
Nice. Okay. So 3 years with probably the opportunity to extend, right? Awesome,
Not
man.
only the
That's great.
opportunity to extend, but the way we wrote the leases. Two things we did is that the we got 2 months free. The first
Okay.
month was to do any renovations that we needed to do
Yeah.
to the property, and then the second month was to, hey, let us get this leased out so that we can pay you one time, going forward.
Yeah.
Um,
I love that.
so with that being said, any money that I gave her it was going to be cheaper than me putting a down payment or closing
Yep.
costs on any purchase that I decided to purchase. Yeah, I'm getting higher return than I would on a single family rental at that.
For sure. For
And
sure.
then
And
that
no credit
investment pays
checks.
off. Yeah, no credit check or anything like that, and that investment pays off in less than 10 months.
That's crazy. So you put the investment in, you got the 3 year lease, right? Because I'm sure a lot of people are worried about, oh man, like, are we going to recoup our costs by then? But we'll recoup our costs in 10 months, which is amazing, right? And then basically the next, uh, 24, 26 months is all complete cash flow. And you have the option to continue to extend that likely, which is great. And you didn't, obviously you were suffering with some credit challenges, but you didn't need to worry about that with this type of investment, right?
And there's another bonus to doing this as well. This was a lease option.
Hmm.
And so, because it's a lease option, then if I'm in position to actually buy out the owner, then I can actually refinance out of that property
That's
versus putting
great.
a down payment on it
That's
as,
awesome.
as an
Yes.
option as well.
That's great. So you have sort of ownership at this point in time, at least from a refinance standpoint, right? So you can, if the properties over the next 3 to 5 years depreciate significantly and you find yourself with a 20% equity position, you can refinance and ultimately own these homes. You've cash flowed them for 5 years, own them without any money into the deal. So that could work out hugely in your favor.
Yep. So that's some of while I'm going through these credit issues, and that's some of the strategies to continue to go forward. So I am launching a arbitrage campaign next week or next month.
Nice, man. I love this. You just got to get creative, right? How can we get creative based on our situation, whether it's capital or credit or whatever our challenges are, in order to still find success, man. Super proud of you. Now, what was your experience coming into this? Did you have any real estate experience? Like, did you own your own home? Did you ever own any other rental properties prior to this?
Uh, so I do own my own home that I'm living in right now.
Okay.
Back in college, I was kind of house hacking. I bought a house, a 2,000 square foot house, my junior year, the
Okay.
end of my junior
Love
year,
that.
and so I had 6 roommates. So I was kind of house hacking or doing the co-living thing back then.
Nice.
I think my payment was like $240 full pitting on this house because it's in Saginaw, Michigan, and I think my roommates were paying like $400 a piece. So
Oh, that's great. You
paying
were
a
the
house
rich guy on
payment.
campus.
It definitely was. It felt like that. So spread the love. We would have these steak dinners every now and then for the house. Show my
Beers were on
appreciation.
you.
Keep them around. Yep.
I love that. Awesome. So you had a little real estate experience, right? You knew how to work your friends over to make a profit. I like that. I like that. And what was the inspiration to kind of dive back in, right? Obviously you were doing well on your W-2. What was that inspiration to say, hey, I think I want to explore this real estate thing a little bit more?
I'm in my 50s, so I've always been interested since college to get back in for whatever happened, throughout life happens and,
Yeah.
whether it's other credit issues or, deaths in the family, whatever, it kind of distracts you from jumping in. But going into 2025, it was, hey, you're getting older. You look at the current state of the economy. I'm not going to have the pensions like, my parents do
Yeah.
and like other people do. So I said, yeah, you got to do something to build up that retirement or else you're going to be trying to work forever. And then even at that, AI is probably going to take my job anyway. So at some point,
We're all running from AI.
yeah,
So the good part is I don't think AI is going to be investing in real estate anytime soon. So I think we're doing okay for now, at
exactly. Well,
least.
it's going to help us invest, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely going to help us. Yeah.
But that was the
Um,
whole thing was to build up the retirement. It was really the incentive and not to have my last years in life being destitute.
that's fair. That's fair. And coming into this, did you have a number in your mind that you were trying to create in cash flow?
Um, yeah, yes and no. I mean, I think everybody says, hey, you need to kind of create your initial number. You really don't know what you're going to get into, and some people will tell you, hey, dream pretty high, and then you have to say, hey, do think of something that's really realistic.
Yeah,
But going into this year, what I wanted to do is try to within the first 2 years try to get to like $15,000 a month in cash flow.
that's great.
Um,
I love
and
that. And
start
that's
there.
if you were to get there, like you would be able to live comfortably based on your previous W-2 and everything like that.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. Now, obviously, you've been, hard at work. You have some experience, right? You know what cash flow numbers look like, and so on and so forth. What do you think now that you're in the trenches, like, will be the realistic timeline for you to get to that $15,000 a month?
It literally depends on how fast I can overcome the credit issues. If I can get a
Yep.
couple of these quick flips done and where I can pay down some of the credit card utilization I used to get in some of these programs, then
Yep.
I think it'll be relatively fast. Given the
Yep.
fact of some of the strategies that I'm using now and some of the properties that I'm looking at to get the higher net cash flow than what I was
Hmm.
anticipating on.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a lot faster than what I expected. So I think within 24 months, I could probably be free.
Yeah, and that's crazy to think about. Let's say extends to 36 months, right? And you're talking about $15,000 a month in cash flow, right? It's amazing and it's also frustrating because you're like, wow, I just worked 30 years of my life when I could have done this 27 years ago. But it's awesome to know that, you see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? So you're like, okay, I've gotten the ball rolling downhill. Now we just need a little bit of more time to get to that goal. So that's great, man. And obviously, you've been an awesome student inside of Rental Property Pro. You always do all the coaching calls. You give feedback. You respond to students on Facebook. What was the deciding like? There's a bazillion and one. I feel like education and mentorship programs out there. What was the deciding factor for you to join Rental Property Pro?
I'm not really sure what happened back it was last year, I think in March where I made the
Yeah.
decision. And, I was really looking at saying, hey, where do I got to spend my money? And I just think it was a couple of your advertising. And I just think there was a connection with you. Um, and then once I got into the program, it was the first conversation I had was with the wise man, Rob McIntosh. And
Our sage, our wise
yeah, yeah,
sage.
yeah. I was like, this is the tree. This is the knowledge tree in the Game of Thrones right here. So
Yeah.
I'm like, so we got access to all of these resources, and I was just really happy with it. And then it was now that I'm in, really become the student of the game, do the work, and things will happen. And then not only that, once I got into it and I was joining those calls, I was listening to the success Clementina was having and hearing the history that you guys had, where she was like, I can't even work a computer. How am I going to do this and whatnot? And I was like, well, if she can do it, and she's really inspired me to do it. And it just became show up to the calls, attack this like a business and
Yep.
get to work and do it. And I think one of the things you guys said is if you're not making offers, you're not making money. And I
Yep.
think as soon as I got over that hurdle of stop trying to acquire knowledge and start executing, that's when things really started to click for me.
Yep, yep. Information doesn't translate into success, right? Action translate into success. And, the first thing whenever I have a student that comes to me and is struggling, I'm like, how many offers have you made? That's the first question, right? And, normally, as you said, like it's not that many, if any, right? So you had to have that mindset shift of, I got to put offers out there in order to make money and have, at bare minimum, have conversations, right? You've done a really good job of just opening up with conversations and finding this rental arbitrage, finding that business partner to help you in St. Louis. So it's been unique. For all the students that are on the call, anybody who's going to watch this, right, newer investors, what's maybe like one piece of advice you give them, or maybe give yourself like for a year or two ago when you were just kind of getting into all this? What's, that you wish you had, right? What's the one thing or a couple things you might share?
For sure, if it's whether I wish I had it, I think it was given to me, and it was just get started.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
period. And then once you get started, it's just what we just talked about was stop acquiring the knowledge and just start executing. And when I say that, it's don't blindly go out there and start putting offers, not knowing, what your next steps are. Get educated enough that you know that you can. Everything doesn't have to be lined up perfectly in order for you to have some types of success. And then
Yeah.
because you have this group, then you can make the offer and then be like, "Hey, coach, what do I do now?" Um,
Exactly.
and get through the process.
Yep.
Um, so I just think a lot of people are afraid to make those first offers, and then when they make those first offers and they get rejected, then they get disgruntled. They don't want to continue to move forward. I say get over
Yep.
that and just make as many offers as you can, and just make sure that you're doing the underwriting that Coach Tim tells you to do and do it properly, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. We don't, as a newer real estate investor, we don't know what we don't know. And coming from someone that's been doing this for 20 years is you're never going to know everything, right? I learn something new every day, right? And as you said, listen to the coaches, right? Have the coaches are there to have your back. Your job's to go out and stumble and trip and fall and run into roadblocks. Our job is to then solve them for you so that you can keep moving forward. But the biggest thing is taking action, man. I love it. I love it.
This is on the job training, and you're
Yeah,
not going to learn anything unless you do stuff on the job.
exactly. I always liken it to like go back to, when you got your first, tech job, or, when you were a nurse or a firefighter or whatever, like the first day on the job, right? Yes, you went through training, but when you stepped onto that floor, you were still lost as hell. Like you knew the basics, right? But for the most part, you were on the job learning how to grind it out, right? This is the same situation, right? You have enough to be dangerous, right? But, you have people and mentors around you to help support you in getting through it. So I love that. Man, you have had awesome success. I just want to, shout out to you. You've been very coachable, right? You got out of your own way. You said, "Hey, I'm just going to take action." Whether that was because, your back was against the wall a little bit from the job situation, or, and also like it's just your personality. You're kind of like, we'll just figure it out as we'll build the airplane as we're going down the runway, right? And you've been super coachable, you've been inspiring, man. I know we do a coaches huddle every single week, and we're talking about you more times than not. And we're just super happy to have you inside the program. And I hope that we're able to help you build or buy 100 more of these things, right? That's the hope and desire for us, for you. But any parting words, anything you want to leave the rental property pro family with, or anybody who watches this, before we sign off?
Yeah, I think you said, hey, what advice would I give somebody? And it was just to get started. This program will get you to whatever you need to be, whether it's getting the instruction to do the goal setting, to understand,
Hmm.
hey, do I really want to make this a business? And then how do I do that? You listen to the coaches, and the coaches will get you to whatever goals that you create for yourself.
Yeah,
This has been a really great program. It's kind of become a family. And while I've
yeah,
been out of work, this is kind of what's kind of kept me on the path and say, hey,
I love that.
underwrite every day, go to your meetings every day, gather all the knowledge, bring your deals to the calls, do your homework before you bring the deals to the calls. And I think Clementina has a question.
Oh, Clementina, you got your hand up. Go
Yeah,
for
no,
it.
coach, you know how many students say, "Hey, you're about to quit? No, go and check Clementina. I don't know who started the whole thing, but so Shoni could have been you because you asked questions right after me. So like if Clementina's asking, heck, I'm going after you. It's really a pleasure to have you flourish so much. I'm very, very happy. I don't know you, but I'm very, very happy for you. It's been a pleasure even asking you questions. And Angela, shout out to you too. Thank you so much for your help. And I know that I bug you sometimes with questions, but don't go anywhere.
I love it. Absolutely. And guys, you both Angela, Clementina, Delsean, right? You guys are great at asking questions, right? You don't let your ego get in the way. You just are like, hey, I don't know the answer to this. Can someone help me? And that just builds your confidence in taking action, right? And that's all you can ask for. Roger, I see you got your hand up, man.
Yeah. Thanks. Very inspirational hearing this. It's always good to hear a great success story. I'm kind of interested when you mentioned the arbitrage rental thing. It sounds like one was an Airbnb, and yet the other one seemed like it was something else because you said they were renting it out room by room. Um, can you elaborate on that?
They're both room by room rentals.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they were
And
Airbnb type of setups?
no, so the duplex that we have, we actually rented it to an Airbnb company.
An
So
Airbnb
yeah,
company.
so
That's
they're
Yeah.
interesting.
guaranteeing us $1,860 a month per unit, and
Right.
however much money they make over and above that, I don't care. But that's
Hmm.
that's that's what they're doing. That's we're ready to it, and they're arbitraging from us. The other two properties I have, I went to some landlords and gave them a lease, and we're renting those houses out room by room.
As an Airbnb kind of
Uh,
thing, or
no, this is traditional co-living. As
okay.
Angela said, it's kind of like pad split, but I went with this lady because I really didn't want to use pad split, even though she did get a couple tenants from pad split. But the one, because they're in Tempe and then because they're in Salt Lake, they're college towns. So she's
Hmm.
had a lot of success going to the international student office
Yeah.
and having students come from out of town and actually commit to these rooms sight unseen for a year
That's great.
instead of doing it
Great.
for the week by week or month by month rentals, which
Which is your goal, yeah.
reduces our vacancies by having those long term leases on those rooms.
Love that.
That's great, especially with the university towns. Good idea.
Yeah.
Yep. It's not just the
Creative.
university towns. I think it was specifically the fact that we're using the international students who are making that commitment, so they have a
Right.
place to stay as soon as they land,
Yeah.
and they don't have to look for anything.
I love
Delphine,
it.
I have one last question. With your 401k, did they force you to open another LLC, or you could use your you had another one?
Set up the operating LLC that controls the 401k.
Yeah.
I
Right.
had set that up all in one thing using Nevada corporate headquarters.
Yep.
And you have to use that LLC for the 401k only, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Velshawn, it's been a pleasure, man. I love seeing the success. You're doing awesome. And I can't wait to see what's next for you, man. Keep showing up on these calls, keep asking questions, keep inspiring everybody, and we'll be here to help as much as humanly possible. Let's get you to that goal in 24 months, man. But thank you for taking the time to jump on here and go through your story, your bumps, your bruises along the way, and the successes that you had. We've been really excited to do this call, and I know everybody's going to take so much away from it. So appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your weekends, and guys, have a weekend. If you guys need anything, please feel free to reach out, support us. Other than that, guys, it's been awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Thanks,
it.
everybody.
Yeah. Thanks.
Appreciate you.